Hi, I'm Dana, and I'm rather on edge right now. My roommate bought me a cuppa because I had my door closed, and he had a bit planned thinking I was filming, but I hadn't started filming yet because I'd heard him moving around. So now I know that at some point during this, he's gonna come in with a cuppa for me, so I have to actually drink this. And he has some sort of bit planned, but I don't know what it is. And it's a little bit off-putting for me. Like, as an autistic person, I don't enjoy surprises and unplanned, unexpected things. So today we're going to talk about things that I recently realised are actually sensory issues. There's a lot of things that I've just sort of written off and just thought were normal, or just not really noticed all that much in certain ways, that I've recently like cottoned onto and been like, oh shit, I realise what that is now. So I thought I'd share some of them so that other people can possibly have the same realisation and figure ourselves out a bit more and figure out how to accommodate to ourselves, the fun stuff, the nice things for a change. And we're also apparently going to be like very nicely joined by Otis. So first up, I've often thought that I don't have like particular sensory issues with lights. Like there's the obvious, like most people don't like fluorescent lights and like big lights, like, you know what I mean? Like the lights that buzz and kitchen lights and things like that. Like the majority of people don't like them. I think perhaps autistic people find them a little bit more annoying than the average person, but none of us like them. But I didn't think I had much of an issue beyond that, like an average issue, you know? But I realised lately that's not like strictly true. So the first thing I realised is that when I'm out and about, just like in my day-to-day life, out in the outside world, touching grass and not being on the internet, I often have this thing, I've never known what to call it. It just feels like a sort of tightness in my head, and I keep like relaxing my forehead thinking that'll solve it, but it doesn't. And it's very like, I thought for a long, like as a kid, that it was a headache, but having then like had headaches where it's like, oh, my head hurts, I was like, oh, it's not a headache, it just, my head feels wrong. And then when I was out and about with a friend, they lent me a pair of sunglasses because it was like a really sunny day, and I put them on and it went away. And I was like, oh, that's me having like a sensory issue and a sensory reaction to the light, to the sunlight being too much for my little autistic indoors internet body. But beyond that, I also realised that like a lot of us really enjoy, I don't know why I'm like constantly referring to like us as the autistics. I feel like it is like a known thing though, that like it's a nice like visual stim to have like fairy lights and the like about, like nice those twinkly lights. And I do agree, as a rule, like I have like nice little lights on my wardrobe and stuff. Like I do like a fairy light, I like a Christmas light, you know? But I went to see a friend play at a gig, and I ended up sitting outside for like the second half of the set because they had like the wall to ceiling fairy light string things behind them, and I just could not deal with looking at it. Like it was like blurring in front of my eyes, like just the lights were blurring, and it was giving me the horrible like not a headache but the head feels wrong feeling. And I was just like, I can't deal with it. It's a proper little sensory issue going on here. Like I can't look at it, and it just really threw me. I was like, damn, I thought that was meant to be like a nice thing to look at. I normally enjoy that, but it was just like so bright and so many of them. It was also like kind of loud, and it was just way too much. It was just too much. And I think it might have been a situation, to be fair, where if I'd put in like my loops or flares to like from the beginning when I was feeling okay, I might have continued to feel okay, and I should have accommodated myself and thought about that, but I just didn't think of it. And next up, while we were like sort of on the subject of me not being made for the outdoors world, is I realised recently that wind is like a massive like sensory slash physical issue for me. I'm slightly concerned it might be an actual like medical issue, to be fair, but I did go to the doctors about it and they were like, no, you're fine. So when I'm out and about, my ears really hurt a lot of the time. Like even if I'm wearing my earbuds, like I wear little earbuds to listen to music like anytime I leave the house, and even with them in, my ears just really hurt sometimes. I can hear my housemate moving around again, it's putting me off again. But yeah, and it's not all the time. And at first I thought like it was like related to the cold, and like maybe when it gets too cold my eardrums are like, oof, no, this is a bit much for us, bitch. But then it started happening like when it's warm as well. And when I thought about it, I was like, actually, I think this is something that I've like complained about before. And then I just sort of got used to it, and then I've noticed it again more recently. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, no, I actually do remember like bringing this up to my mum as a kid and her being like, what are you on about? Like, deal with it. But like I say, like it got to the point where I went to the doctors and was like, I think there's something wrong with my ears, they really hurt. And they like looked inside my ears and asked all sorts of questions, did a little hearing exam and shit, and said that was alright. So I think it's a sensory issue. Hopefully it's not anything else. But getting to what it actually is, not just like the sensory overwhelm of it, it's the wind. It's that like I think it might be due partially to my hair as well, but you know that like very high pitched wind sound that you get from just like wind going past your head? It's the wrong tone and everything. It's just wrong for my ears. I don't like it at all, and I really hate it. And I can still hear it like over the music in my earbuds because it's like going directly into my ears from the wind, and it really fucking puts me off. I really don't like it. It really physically hurts is the thing that like confused me. But like I've read up a lot about like being autistic, and I'd read that like sensory issues can often like feel like they physically hurt the autistic person, and I just sort of like thought like, even though it's bullshit, I just sort of thought like I'm not that autistic, I guess. But like nah, it hurts, it physically hurts. It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's that. Now a little bit more of like I'm not sure it fits into this video really, but I wanted to talk about it one, is things like utensils and plates and mugs and bowls, you know, things like that. Like I'm very even like pans and like my cooking utensils, I'm really fucking specific about, and I really need them to be the right type of thing and like feel right, and like it's a difficult one because I can't explain what makes it right, and a lot of different ones are right and a lot of different ones are wrong, and sometimes they can seem like they're very similar but they're not, that one's right and one's wrong. But it's just the way certain things like feel in my hands and like look visually as well sometimes, but like not just like purely aesthetically. It's like when things don't look right, it like physically like I get a proper like ick from it. Like it's not just that like I don't like it or it's not aesthetically pleasing, like it icks me out, like it's really horrible. I really dislike it like a lot, and it just feels all wrong. But the thing with this one, besides like getting the ick, is that it affects like how I feel about the things that I'm having from those like utensils and crockery. The things that I eat will affect the way that the food feels and tastes to me. So if I'm having like my favourite meal but it's on the wrong plate and I've got the wrong cutlery, it tastes different, the texture feels wrong, it doesn't feel like it's the same meal. But like I could take the same food out of the same pan, or like even like scoop it off that plate onto another and get different utensils, and it'll go back to like how it's supposed to be, and it feels right and good and I like it again. So yeah, it's great if I go somewhere that doesn't have like any of the right stuff. And I feel like sometimes it also makes me kind of biased because like there's a place in town and everyone that I've taken there has been like, the food's not that great, why are you like hyping this place up, why have you been going off about it? And I really greatly enjoyed the food, but I also wonder if it's that like everything there feels right, like it's really like it's this like long heavy gold cutlery and like greenish off-white sort of plates, and like everything's like the same sort of like aesthetic, and it just everything feels right. Like the glasses are like the ones that I like that have like little divots in the end. Oh, it's very good and I like it a lot, but it does make me wonder if I'm actually like having like the added sensory joy of things being right, which makes the food kind of feel like it's better than it actually is. I also, this is an offshoot from like me having thoughts just now, I feel like I also get like temperature issues from sensory issues. Like when I go to bed, I sleep with like blankets under my duvet, not because they like bring me any extra warmth, but because the texture of them doesn't make me feel so cold. And like I get that like certain different materials conduct the heat in different ways. I get that that is a thing, but I feel like it's like number one, like an immediate temperature change for me, and number two, it doesn't always like correlate to the way that the thing actually conducts heat. Like sometimes it is like a sensory thing of like this thing just feels warm to me even though I know it's technically not. Like I've got a heated blanket, I have warmed up my actual duvet cover before, and it's just not the same type of warmth as the soft blanket, you know? I think that's like definitely a sensory thing, probably. On to our next topic though, and I should have included this in the wind, because the other one is silence. And like, I live in a city now. It's not that often that I actually like experience silence because there's like main roads and other people and my housemate and cats and water fountains. Like I haven't heard silence in a very long time, I don't think. But like there's been other times like when we lived in Denmark and we lived out in like the middle of nowhere where I definitely heard like as close to silent as you can kind of get without like going into the middle of like the desert or space or something, you know, like the most silent natural silence that you can get. And like I know that it's a thing that like silence makes people uncomfortable and like humans don't like complete silence and we hear things in it and blah blah blah, but it feels like someone's squishing my head when it's too quiet. Like it feels like someone's just like got their hands on either side and is like absolutely shoving, and it kind of like, I wouldn't say it physically actually hurts in the same way that the wind does, but it's very uncomfortable and it makes me feel very tense. And like some of that's obviously just like the natural human reaction to silence, but I think some of it's also a sensory issue. And it is something that I also sometimes experience when it's not like complete silence, but when it's like the silence that you get used to from like your general surroundings, you know? If that makes sense? Like I've got like my cat water fountain and there's often like a bit of traffic and you just get very used to that type of silence. And sometimes that type of silence is just too much. And I just have to like sit here and put like fucking music on or put my flares or loops in. And it's a bit weird, but no, that's that one. What? And another big sensory thing that I think is quite often discussed online is the whole like how you sit. Because I cannot stand sitting with my feet on the floor. Like if I'm sat in like a chair on a couch or whatever, sitting with my feet on the floor, like how you have to normally sit at a desk. Like this is my knee, I'm not sitting normally at this desk. It doesn't feel right and I don't enjoy it. And like I do sort of wonder if I've got something going on with some sort of like hyperextension or some shit, because like I feel like being able to like do this and have it kind of feel like a good stretch maybe isn't the most average of things. I don't know though. I keep watching TikToks and I don't want to fall down the rabbit hole like TikTok diagnoses, so we're not doing it. But I do wonder if like, because it is more prevalent or like quite common more so in autistic people, like neurodivergent people, from what I've seen, which might be wrong. So I do sort of wonder if that plays into why a lot of us feel more comfortable sitting in like sort of odd positions. And also my posture fucking sucks. My posture is terrible. I realise all the time, like there's a TikTok where they're like, oh, if you're like ADHD or autistic, you're more likely to sit with your head forward like this. And every single time I see that TikTok or see that someone's like liked the stitch that I did to it, I have to like pull my head up to like sit how you're supposed to, like not even how you're supposed to sit, but like the way that a human head should be positioned on the body, you know? Like I sit like a fucking vulture. It's disgusting. I really need to fix my posture. And finally, like the body sensory overwhelm wrong things. And I've left this one to last because I think it needs a trigger warning. Because these are ones where like if you experience this type of thing, it's probably going to put you off. It's probably going to send you down the spiral of feeling it and experiencing it, and it's not fun. And I hate it when people just like drop things in, you know? Things about breathing, things about like mouth and tongue positioning and things like that. If that's going to throw you, leave now. Like this is your trigger warning. It's gonna, that's what we're talking about, because I think that is a whole like sensory thing for a lot of autistic people, and I want to talk about it. So if you're not comfortable hearing about it, this is where you can just leave and it's all cool. So see you later. Because my housemate's coming now. Might want to stick around for like 2 seconds because this is probably going to be a bit. And then once he leaves, you can leave. It'll be like you've got someone to leave with, so you don't have to feel awkward about it. Hi.
Made you tea.
Thank you.
You hungry?
Yeah.
You filming?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was genuinely concerned you were going to throw all at me.
Oh, I don't like being on camera.
Yeah, you do. Especially
I should have dressed
framing.
up. I should have dressed up. This isn't a good angle for me. Have you told them about your tea, about how you have your tea?
What about how I have
You've
my
not
tea?
told them about how you have your tea?
I've shown how I have my tea in vlogs. I've shown how I make it.
Really?
No one said anything about it.
It's ridiculous. It's mental. Firstly, it's frothy. Okay, show your tea at the camera.
I can't tip
Show
it
your
towards
tea.
the camera.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah,
ruin
you
my
can.
brain. If
Look,
you
look, you see how milky that is? See how milky that is? That's fine, right? It's fine if you like milky tea. Liking milky tea is okay. Except the reason Dana has milky tea is because they want it colder.
Which actually works out because we're talking about sensory issues in this video, and that's because I don't like things being too hot.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fair. Okay, except
So you've been...
you could use the standard method of just waiting a bit.
But I want to drink my tea.
Then just like learn to have it like scalding hot like me. Like I don't think a cup of tea isn't good unless you've got second degree burns in your throat as well.
That puts me off the experience.
No, it's nice. Yeah, no, it adds to it. Sort of adds a bit of spice to the whole
Spice.
thing. Well, you know, we do
You
drink
like
a lot of
spicy
tea.
things.
It's more like I drink a lot of tea, and I think we need to somehow,
You want to ration them in?
add a bit of. Yeah, basically we're spending too much on milk.
Why have you come into a housemate meeting on camera?
This is ridiculous. No more like half a carton of milk. And it's soy milk as well, so it goes frothy. You could at least use like nice oat,
That's more expensive and you're complaining about how much milk we go through.
Basically, I hate you because of how you have your tea. Yeah.
Ouch. I'm glad you hit yourself with the door on the way out. You gotta close it?
I disagree.
So not everyone's been able to leave that wants to without feeling awkward. Let's get into it. Sometimes, number one, we've talked before about how I like a phobia of my teeth falling out and I like constantly run my tongue around my teeth and that's a whole... My teeth are very weird to me. I'm sorry, I know they're like a part of me but they feel like they're not and it weirds me out. But the way that my tongue sits in my mouth often becomes like a whole sensory thing where it just feels like it's sitting wrong. And I feel like it's making me speak weird, but I also feel like maybe I'm not speaking weird, it's just that it's putting me off massively. It's like giving me goosebumps, like genuinely I have goosebumps right now. It's really putting me off. Oh. But the way that like, it just, every position in my mouth just feels wrong and like I just don't want my tongue to be in there anymore. It's horrible. I really, really hate it. It really puts me off, like, being alive. It's a horrible experience. It takes ages to go away. Like, I have to really distract myself and it feels like my tongue's too big in my mouth now and I need to move on. But also sometimes, now, I'll give that I'm a smoker, so my lung capacity probably isn't the most excellent, but I think it's a sensory thing and not like an actual medical thing, Sometimes it just like, I'll be breathing and like I know that I'm breathing in and out obviously because I'm a person, I'm continuing to be alive and not suffocate, but it feels like there's nothing going in and out. And like there obviously is, I'm obviously fine, but it doesn't feel like anything's going in and out, so now I get really focused on my breathing, and even though I literally am breathing, it feels like I can't breathe, and it's very bizarre and it's very weird, and it really, again, just puts me off being alive, and I'm just like, why can I not, like, I've forgotten how to breathe. Have I forgotten how it feels to breathe? It's real fucking bizarre. It makes me feel real dumb, but I think it is like some sort of like weird just sensory thing of like suddenly feeling my body or something, because I don't feel like I do feel my body a lot. Like I feel like I have very bad like interoception and I don't know what's going on in there. It's a mystery to me. So every now and again I think I do just like suddenly become aware of the fact that I can feel my body parts and it makes me feel really weird. I don't like it. I also sometimes get a whole thing where I can like really feel my eyelashes and I have to like do this very like cool, stylish, not weird thing of like pushing them all up, because otherwise it feels like they're like sitting on my eyeballs, and it's possible that I just have like horrible eyelashes that sit on my eyeballs, but I don't think I do because they feel normal when I touch them, but I have to do that to like get rid of like the sensory ick of having eyelashes and existing as a person. Just kind of enjoying my frothy tea. That was a shit bit though, wasn't it? That was shit. You thought about that. You had like 15 minutes to think about that. And finally, the least like triggering one of all of these is just my fingernails. I have to have them filed to a certain sort of length and shape, and as soon as they get beyond that shape, it just massively puts me off and makes me like not want to have hands, and it feels disgusting to even exist.
Especially fun with that is that sometimes filing my nails is also a massive sensory ick, so I can't do it and just feel gross.
And like if I can't, when I break them and they're the wrong length, like I don't keep them particularly long, so it's not like the end of the world when they break a lot of the time, but sometimes they go real fucking short and it absolutely pains me for like weeks, and it feels horrible. I know it sounds like it's just sort of a personal preference, but it's a case of like when they're too long or when they're the wrong shape, it just feels like I can constantly feel them on my fingers. Like imagine having like a big glob of blue tack put on your finger. Like I was gonna say like a fake nail, but I feel like that's not that bad and you get used to it and it's designed to be there. But just like a massive glob of like hot glue or blue tack or something like that just on the end of your finger, it feels like that, and I can just feel it's there all the time, and it really, really feels gross and it puts me off and I don't like it at all. But that was the last one. So I self-promote now. We've been doing this for a while. You probably know the run through, so feel free to skip it if you're here regularly. But if you're not here regularly, or if you don't normally listen, or if you just want to finish the video, you can follow me on Patreon or as a YouTube member and pay me money for creating content if you want to. It will always be free. It'll always be something I want to do for free and want to be able to provide to people for free, because I don't have money to pay for content myself, and I don't think things should be like gatekept and kept away from people, especially not things like this. So if you want to pay me, you can, and you can also like donate to my fucking soy milk fund on Ko-fi, so that my housemate will still make me coppers. No, he's lovely. He comes across poorly on camera, I'm sure. No, he's lovely. I don't know why I'm speaking like Gollum and like going between opinions like that. But yeah, you can donate to me on Ko-fi if you fancy it. And if you're poor like me, you can subscribe here. That's my favourite option. Please do subscribe if you like the content, because I post on Thursdays and Sundays. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. I'm only really active on TikTok out of those, honestly. And I've got more followers there than I do here now, so maybe my content there is actually better, or maybe people just prefer me in short bursts. Either way, whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.
Dana.
Learn to be hot like me.